So I guess you've heard the Omegas are back, and they are back with a vengeance, making sure that there will be no fun of any kind on college campuses. Actually, they don't look like that anymore, but more like this. Or at least they claim they look like this. They claim to be speaking for diversity, for a society where everyone is equal regardless of the race, gender, or sexual orientation, and they bully anyone they perceive to be against it. Of course, being Omegas, and therefore conservative thinking, they've embraced this position at the very point when society at large has accepted this kind of diversity anyway, leaving them with no real bigots to fight against. True liberals have moved on to promote diversity in traits that you choose rather than the ones you are born with, but this is a kind of diversity which the new Omegas are against, so they call it bigotry and bully these liberals. So these Omegas, just like the old ones, are nothing but authoritarians who are trying to stifle freedom in the name of values that have now become dominant. Using political correctness as their weapon, the new Omegas found a way to establish the order, and even the deans are afraid of them. And in their new order, comedy has no place unless it is conscripted comedy, unless it serves the ruling PC order. And so, the last year saw a number of comedians bemoaning the fact that humor has become a four-lettered word on many US campuses, killed by political correctness. Veteran comedians such as Jerry Seinfeld, Chris Rock, Jay Leno, and Larry the Cable Guy all came out and said that they won't play college campuses anymore since the college kids are so PC now that they get offended by jokes. But a surprisingly dissenting voice was sounded by Sarah Silverman, once known for her non-PC edginess. When asked about the subject, she had this to say.
There's a lot of gray matter for me in this, because I didn't agree with everything they were saying. I watched that episode. To a degree, everyone's gonna be offended by something, so you can't just decide on your material based on not offending anyone. But I do think it's important as a comedian, as a human, to change with the times, to change with new information. I don't think there's anything wrong with changing with the times. I think it's a sign of being old when you are put off by that. I caught myself a few years ago fighting gay. I say gay, like that's so gay. I just say gay. I have gay friends. I don't mean it like gay. I mean it like it's gay, like it's lame. And then I stopped myself and said, what am I fighting? I have become the guy from 50 years ago who said, I say colored, I have colored friends. It's not hard to change with the times. And I think it's important. And when you have new information and you become more aware of the world around you, you can change. I don't say that things are gay anymore if I think they're lame. I don't even think about it. It didn't take long to get used to it. And to that effect, I think you have to listen to the college-aged because they lead the revolution. They're pretty much always on the right side of history.
As usual with today's online media, these few sentences were made into a much bigger deal than they are. Some PC bastions like Salon.com hailed Silverman as a model for the new comedian for our time, while freedom of speech guardians lamented their fallen comrade. These reactions were way overblown. Silverman isn't saying that you should not offend people. She's just saying you can give up on using certain words. It is quite obvious from Sarah's reply that she does not understand what her colleagues are actually complaining about. The problem is not with no longer being able to use certain words in a certain way. Any comedian can easily work their way around that. The problem that comedians are complaining about is not being able to make jokes at all about certain subjects or certain groups of people. Those groups of people that have been labeled oppressed by the new Omegas. It's not that you can't use the word gay in a demeaning way. It's that you can't make jokes about gay people, period, or you will be run off campus by the PC mob. Silverman's claim that college kids are always on the right side of history is of course extremely idiotic, and we can cite many historical examples to show how ignorant it is. The late 60s students who were carrying Mao's Red Book around were very much on the wrong side of history, and some of them went on to become the very professors who are poisoning the minds of today's students with all this PC crap. But this is just an indication of Sarah's naivete. It does not mean that she supports PC culture. Still, even the example that she brings is irksome to me, because it seems that she believes that the self-censorship of PC culture is a good thing that leads to progress. Now, it is true that the word gay is not being used as a slur as often as it used to, but that's not an example of the virtues of self-censorship. The word stopped being used not because we all started censoring ourselves, but because it's just not funny anymore. Up until very recently, even after we've learned to say being gay is okay, it was still embarrassing for a straight guy to be considered gay. So if a comedian would imply that someone might not be altogether straight, we'd all laugh at them. In that cultural environment, calling someone or something gay was considered a put-down. Today, if you imply someone's gay, we'd all be like, yeah, so he's gay. Where's the joke, right? And with that, many of us just naturally stopped using the word gay to put someone down. So, Sarah, let me see if I can get this into you. The progress here was not achieved because we've censored our speech. The progress was achieved because our mentality changed and became more tolerant. And this happened because we did not censor ourselves, but rather allowed ourselves to speak freely and make jokes, even inappropriate and offensive jokes, about homosexuality. By joking about homosexuality, we've normalized it and lost our homophobia. Now, me, I'm a classy guy, an intellectual, and I would never stoop to using crass, inappropriate humor just for cheap laughs. But comedians should not censor themselves. If a joke is funny, then it is okay, even if it is inappropriate. When you make it not okay to make jokes about gays, you once again make homosexuality something that is out of the normal, and you're opening the door for homophobia to creep back in. If we don't fight against this trend of censorship, we might find ourselves in a very dark place.